It's Monday, August 16th, 2010. I'm Andy Waits in the News Bunker with today's front page review. First, the New York Times. General Petraeus says America has finally put into play the plan that has been shaped over the past year and a half, and we shouldn't necessarily just pull out of Afghanistan in July 2011. It was nice to have a grown-up at the table. New York City was proud of closing the racial gap in schools. It was. 40% of black students and 46% of Hispanic students meet state standards in math, compared to 75% of white students and 82% of, Asians? I don't know. Answers on page A16. 5 neuroscientists spent a week in the wilds of southern Utah to study the effects on the brain of unplugging from stress and technology. They're hoping to increase attention span, memory, and learning. Tragedy in a horrible off-road accident in Southern California when this truck went out of control and flew into a crowd. The crash killed 8 people and injured 12. Interest rates are still rock bottom, despite the predictions the experts had about what 2010 would bring. Now, a check on the LA Times. That horrible off-road crash is the big story. Both racers and opponents of this kind of racing are appalled at the lack of safety precautions for the spectators. This 19-year-old lady holds her dead boyfriend's hat. Boy, that truck must have just missed her. Column 1, the story of a Vietnamese shrimper who now lives in Louisiana and can't make a living until he can take his boat back out on the Gulf. Mexican journalists are afraid to report on the drug war because, they can easily be kidnapped and killed. They call it narco-censorship. Now to Tokyo, Japan, the Asahi Shimbun. A ceremony to mark the 65th anniversary of the end of World War II. Prime Minister Naoto Kan focused on the tragic lessons of the war and acknowledged the suffering Japan inflicted on other countries. Victims of U.S. air raids want compensation, reparations. 2 stories about Chinese dams. First concerns that China is diverting water from international rivers, and second that all that water is being diverted to Beijing for their thirst. The U.S. Navy isn't just practicing with South Korea, they're also doing exercises with Vietnam, which raises China's hackles. And competition between Japan and South Korea for the electric car battery market. Now to South Dakota, near the Sturgis Motorcycle Rally this past weekend and the Rapid City Journal. Attendance was way up. They expected 500,000 bikers and might have had 100,000 more. The bishop of the Rapid City Diocese is moving to Spokane. One last hug, we assume. Voters okayed new taxes for Rapid City's Business Improvement District. Now, the average bill for businesses will be over $400 with a 9% interest charge if they don't pay up by September 16th. Well, you can bet that money isn't going for exorbitant salaries for city planners there. And that's the front page review for Monday, August 16th, 2010. In the News Bunker, I'm Andy Waits.